Now, you would have thought Australia were in deep trouble after going through 5 straight losses in one-dayers, but they are 5-time world champions. And a 66-run win over India last week has reminded everyone of their credentials. Sri Lanka's 1996 World Cup winning coach, Dav Whatmore, is here with me to set up Australia at the World Cup. Remember, he's played his international cricket for Australia and not Sri Lanka. Now, Dav, no one can write off an Australian team heading into a World Cup. You know, there's a reason why they've won it 5 times.
Well, that's right. And, all the form or the bad form that happens before, this big event doesn't really count for too much with this, particularly with the Aussies, because these guys are hardened performers in this competition, and not just in good wickets. As I said earlier, they've been very good performers in all sorts of conditions. So
but is it also because of the sort of that mentality? Is it passed down generation to generation, or because Australian cricket is so success-oriented that even at the domestic level, it sort of permeates down?
Surely is. You learn it very early that you play tough, hard cricket, and you just work your backside off to get momentum going your way. Sometimes it's you achieve it with a little bit more verbal, but when it happens, it's very hard to stop momentum when they got to go, and they just crush you.
Just looking at the Australian squad, we're going to bring up that squad on a graphic just behind me. When I look at this squad they've picked, sort of massive depth.
Yeah.
Massive depth, and just one change. One change, we'll see it here, there, that's the change. Marnus Labuschagne coming in, and he's coming for Ashton Agar, not for Travis Head, who's injured. But just look up. Warner in good form. Head stays despite the broken hand. Steven Smith is somebody is going to be a sort of insurance policy.
Yeah.
Alex Carey can hit it. Josh Inglis, again, these two are the wicket keepers, and they're down there as pure batters. And that's because when we change this graphics page, you'll see why Australia had this depth. Just look at this. Green, Marsh, Stoinis, Maxwell, the 4 all-rounders. And trust me, any other team in world cricket, they'll walk into that team. And here we don't know how many of them are going to play. Let's move on to the Australian bowlers. Okay, Pat Cummins, we're going to talk about him because he's just captained 4 times in one-dayers for Australia. Hazelwood's #2 bowler in ODIs. Mitchell Starc loves turning up at a World Cup. And Adam Zampa, the sole specialist spinner, though Australia do think that Glenn Maxwell is going to bowl a lot for them. And then you have Sean Abbott. Thoughts? This team can win a World Cup?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. If their form is up to it and they got that momentum going. The big thing there, of course, is those all-rounders. And that's going to be a difficult decision to make from game to game, who plays and who doesn't. And the captain, I'm sure, if he's not performing, he won't think twice. He'll drop himself, no question.
Interesting. Okay. Big call, though, to stick with Travis Head. So effectively, till Travis Head recovers from that fracture, they trust this team to play 14. They're just 14 fit men, and they're going with 14. What does that tell you?
You can see what they've done there. With Labuschagne coming in, taking the place of a spinner, it gives a real good sense of a good backup for the quicks. I mean, if you lose 1 or 2 wickets for the batters, you lose 1 or 2 early wickets, he comes in. He calms it down a little bit. But with 2 spinners only, Head will come in at some point, and he will also assist with 5 or 6 overs himself. So I think they've been pretty smart the way they've gone about it,
Okay. And just talking about Travis Head and Labuschagne, you thought that's going to be the switch, but I love the way Labuschagne responded by by the way when he was dropped initially. He was picked for South Africa. He goes there, gets a big 100, and even when he came to India, he's under pressure. He knows that he's auditioning for a spot, but he gets those runs. He's told the selectors, "You want to drop me and we don't win this World Cup, it's on you."
No, there's no question. The 300 balls is a lot of balls in one-day cricket. It's a long game, to be honest with you. And he's got the potential and the ability to bat long, like Steve Smith. So he's a very shrewd selection to have him in the team, to be able to to bat up the list, or if they're going really well, he can float down. And he's a wonderful player. He's out of form a little bit before, but now he's way back into form now, and I'm sure that
But also, Dav, I think when we talk of form, it's not exactly true, because how many teams have actually played one-day internationals this year?
Well,
this is a very rare World Cup in a sense that you've played a lot of Test cricket. You played a bit of one-day cricket till the IPL break, and after that, probably September is the only month people have played one-day cricket. Well, that way it's difficult World Cup.
This format's getting a bit of a kick in the in the teeth a bit, with the 50-over game. But every 4 years it's played, and everyone looks forward to to seeing the teams in action over that 50 overs.
But the big problem, which I think for Australia, great team, and we're going to see that graphics come up on our screens and behind me as well. They've actually got their best, sort of all their big starters only in for that last ODI against India. Let's bring up Australia's fixtures, and I find a few things rather troubling.
They're no strangers to losing games as well. Let's not forget. It's well within their realm of ability to come back after losing a
99 World Cup?
Absolutely, yeah. They had to win all these games in order to qualify for the semi and then go ahead and win it, which they did. So
and even then, that South Africa game could have gone either way.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be too bothered if they, drop one or two along the way.
Okay, because if I remember correctly, I think the first 4 or 5 games are tough games.
Yes, they are.
And you can't afford to perhaps drop too many points up there, because it punctures your momentum as well.
Yeah, well, I'm backing Australia to win, a share of that. They may not win all, but if they win a share of that, they'll come home with a wet sail, that's for sure.
Okay, just 2 spinners, There are 2 spinners in there. There are 2 spinners, Adam Zampa, who we saw on the screen, and they are expecting Glenn Maxwell to be a full-time bowler.
Yeah, well, he has developed nicely in that role. When I first saw him bowl off spin, I thought, oh, gee, they're taking a bit of a risk bowling him. But now...
he's bowling the IPL in the public.
Yeah, his control over that off spin and the way he gets a bit of drift, and he's got a bit of smarts about him as well. So, they're looking at him, he'll bowl 10 overs. So, 2 spinners, yes, Zampa's the boy that... they all look for to get wickets as well, and he's in more occasions than not, he hasn't let them down. So he'll bowl his 10, and Maxwell's the other one. And then when Head comes back, he provides. And let's not forget Labuschagne too. He was
bowling in South Africa.
Yeah, he can chip in with some overs also. So I think, as I said earlier, they're a bit smart with their selection.
Okay, when you talk about these batters who can bowl a bit, I remember the 2011 World Cup, Australia came in as defending champions. They had a certain leg spinner who was bowling a lot, called Stephen Smith. Doesn't bowl too much, but is he the insurance policy for them? Because, again, coming back from injury, hasn't played as much one-day cricket as required. But again, as you spoke about one-day cricket, it's not T20. You don't have time in T20. 50-over cricket, you have time. If you know how to be patient, you know how to sort of when to accelerate, when to sort of drop sort of your guard, just wait.
And when to bring in certain bowlers. And I don't think Smith right now, if Labuschagne's playing, they seem to be looking at Labuschagne first for these wrist spinners. But certainly if he's not in the team and there is a requirement for a bit of wrist stuff, Smith can give you some overs, but I don't think he'll have too many of those.
Yeah, but Smith the batter? How big is he going to be?
Oh,
Smith the batter?
No question. I mean, he hasn't played too many one-day internationals, but 300 balls, it's a lot of time, and he's so focused. When he puts his mind to it, it's a matter of when, not if. He's going to get runs, no question.
Okay, 1 match winner in Smith. Let's get to another match winner, because I'm not sure in the history of the World Cup there are many bowlers. I think Mitchell Starc is the only one who stopped the bowling charts at 2 World Cups. He's back as well, and you look at his record, isn't that great when you look at what he's done at World Cups. But the last 2 World Cups, he's been the top wicket taker. 49 wickets in 2 World Cups, right?
That's right.
These conditions are a bit different, but again, he has that ability to strike with the new ball, a bit like Shaheen Shah Afridi of Pakistan.
Absolutely. There's 2 new balls, right? So, he's going to have a ball that's going to retain their hardness a little bit longer, and he's certainly an attacking left-arm fast bowler that pitches up, and he can get knocked around as well. Let's not, think that he he's not going to get hit. He will get hit as well, but if he picks up these wickets, then it's going to expose, it's going to break open the game a little bit, and he's got the potential to continue on, and he's topped the wicket, as you said, the wicket charts over the last 2 World Cups. So he's really going to be an impact player, I reckon.
Okay, impact player Mitchell Starc, but just from a coaching perspective, when you have players like this who are genuine wicket takers and they go for runs, what's the message that you give to your team? Because I remember Imran Khan once saying, I don't care if a bowler has conceded 40 in his first 5, as long as he's got me 3 wickets. That's better than somebody bowling 10 overs for, say, 50 and not picking up a wicket. I'm not okay with that. I'm okay with someone getting tonked but picking up wickets. Is that what Mitchell Starc provides? Surely,
that's the potential, right? If he gets knocked around a little bit, you know that the potential is there to come back and get 2 or 3 wickets, in a short space of time. That's what he's there to do. So, you take the good with the bad. And boy, when he's good, he's really good. When he's bad, okay, it's not that bad.
Okay, before I get in, I just remembered we were talking about the all-rounders, but then David Warner and Mitchell Marsh. The injury to head pushes Marsh up, but he's taken his chances. There's talk he's going to be the next white ball captain.
Well, on merit too, I have to say. He's gone on record by saying he really enjoys batting up the top, and he enjoys batting with Warner. And his performances of late suggest that's just what's happening. And it's almost given him a new lease of life coming up and facing against the new ball, and he's done very well. And I think he's going to be a bit of a surprise package too, I reckon. He's down the ground player. They pitch up to have the ball swing. Okay, he may get out, but he can also play into his strength.
Like we saw in the T20 World Cup final a couple of years ago, the way he sort of went and counter-attacked at one stage.
Down the ground player.
Yep. Okay, looking at this Australian team, is their captain, Pat Cummins, the weakest link? Because, okay, it's controversial, right? I can sort of say that. You look at Hazelwood, number 2 bowler in the world, only because Siraj took those 6 wickets. You look at Mitchell Starc, who's got this great World Cup record, and then you've got Pat Cummins, who is the captain, but he's only captained 4 times in the last 1 year. That's a bit of a tricky one, eh?
It is, but I think to start with, he will toss the coin, and he will bowl. He'll bowl quick, and he'll try really hard. But if his form suggests that they should look elsewhere for that 3rd seamer,
so that's Sean Abbott.
Yeah, I have no doubt that he will put the team first, as all Australians have done, and he'll drop himself. I feel sure of that. But I'm not sure it'll come to that, because that guy is a decent bowler.
But is he a good one-day captain? I think that's the same question people are asking about Babar Azam as well. Is he a good one-day captain? Because, hey, we haven't seen much of him.
No, well, but he's got some decent guys around him too. If he's a democratic leader like we think he is, then he should be getting information from the right people.
But isn't that the criticism of Pat Cummins, even during the Ashes, that the people around him are influencing him a lot more? Do you think when it comes to the crunch, Australia have good leaders, right? They've got Mitchell Marsh, a future captain. They've got Smith. They've got Warner.
Yeah.
But as captain, isn't the captain the boss?
Well, I tell you, we raised the Ashes. That was a tough situation there when the team's hammering you, as Bazball do. Yeah. Not that easy either. And let's not forget, it's still, they retain the Ashes because they drew the series.
Yeah.
It's not a case of having a complete whitewash as a captain of Australia. He did some good things as well. But it's a real test when these things are happening to your team and you're the leader and all the cameras are on you, and then you've got to make the decision. But you do enlist the help of some of your major senior players, and it's even with them, it's difficult to stem that the flow of aggression.
Okay. We were looking at the Australian squad, and lots of these all-rounders came up. So let's put Dav on the mat. I actually asked Dav to bring up his best Australian 11, or perhaps the 11 that Australia will put out on the park in Chennai against India. And this is what Dav has picked. Okay, this is Dav's Australia 11 for the World Cup. Your best team, or even for the India game? This is what you start with.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so Warner and Marsh have been discussing. So you've gone the solidity of Smith and Labuschagne. Maxwell. Now, that's a player who wins you a World Cup, right? If he starts firing. Stoinis, you've gone for Stoinis, and you've gone for Hazlewood, Starc, and Cummins. Interesting. How many bowling options here? That's 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Stoinis is in the category of part-time. When you look at the other options that you have in that 11, so he'll only bowl, I think, if it's really required. I don't think he will, but he's certainly a finisher, and he's certainly, even if you're chasing 10 and over, you know, when he's at the crease, there is a real good chance that you can win that game. So I think, you know, he deserves his spot. That it's not quite the same batting order, but you know, that's my 11, and I think that's a good one.
Of course, you won a World Cup, you know. But I'm just a bit intrigued here. Hazlewood, Starc, Cummins, 3 pacers. These Indian conditions, Chennai, are you sure?
Well, there's still 2 spinners as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, Maxwell and Zampa. So they got 2 spinners.
But when I look at this, Dav, this is depth. I think England are the other team which has this kind of depth, because remember, he can hit it, so can he. Okay, these are 10 and 11 here, Hazlewood and Zampa, but they're batting up till 9.
Surely, yeah, that's what it's about. You don't compromise your bowling by batting down. So if you've got the ability to bat down without compromising your skill in bowling, nothing like it.
Okay, so this is your best team. Now, tell us, how do Australia win this World Cup? What do they need to do to win this World Cup?
I feel that momentum, you know, I think they'll lose the odd game. That's not a problem for them. But once they get that momentum going, it's very difficult to stop. And they've got some X-factor players in there, some impact players like Maxwell and Stoinis. And I put Starc in there as well. You know, he's got the potential to come and pick up 2 wickets in an over, maybe 3, as we saw. Okay, it was against Netherlands, but you know, he had the ability to do that. So I think he comes into that category as well as an impact player. And I just think with their history of performances in the World Cup, boy, I wouldn't be backing you know, them to...
You wouldn't want to meet them in the semis.
No, that's right.
Yeah, especially I mean, last time also England. Yeah. England were on a roll. Yeah. But yeah, well, it's very difficult to beat Australia, especially in the business head of a tournament. Yeah. You have an Australian passport, hand on heart. Where do you think they're going to finish? Yeah,
look, I'm expecting them to finish in the last 4 to play off in the semi. And with their history, I really wouldn't be surprised if they do happen to play in the final. I don't think so, but it wouldn't surprise me, Diggy.
Okay. Yeah. Dav Whatmore saying, don't count out this Australian team. And there's a reason why they won 5 world titles. Put them in a tough situation. They always sort of respond. And as we just saw with that best 11 which Dav has up, this team can hurt the big teams. On that note, Dav Whatmore, thank you so much. We're continuing our build-up to the ICC Cricket World Cup. We'll be looking at all the 10 teams. This is where you see it. Get on to WION. This is WION World of Cricket.